3, 2, 1.
Hi, my name's Aaron Krebs. I'm going to start some videos and start a process called AOK Adventures. And the purpose of doing this really is to bring education out to the world, to show people that, you know, what do people in the West do, and what it is that Aaron Krebs in particular do. This is in memory of my father, Brian Krebs, who passed away in 2010. And just before he passed away, I asked him, you know, for my birthday, he says, what can I give you for my birthday? And I said, just document what you do. He was quite an adventurer himself, quite a man. Anybody that knows Brian knows that he always had a story, and lots of them. So I thought, why not document? When he passed away, he never documented in video or in writing anything that he really did. So it's all word of mouth of what kind of adventures he did. So I thought, why not do some of the adventures that I do, document it for future generations, and as I do it, I'm very strong in education. I want to teach other people, so I'll teach other people. So really today's going to be an introduction, a little bit to the animals, about what we do. I do a lot of horseback riding, do a lot of camping, I do horseshoeing in the beauty industry, so I actually do that too, so there may be videos on that as well. But I have to pay for the hay and the horses somehow, right? So really this is going to be educational. I would welcome people to actually ask questions. Hey, you know, I saw this, and I'll answer as many questions as I can. I'm here to educate, inspire, and motivate everybody that I can. So my wife Lori will be running the show a lot of times, so I want to say thank you to Lori for doing that. So yeah, without further ado, let me introduce a couple first things. This is Fargo. Fargo is my quarter horse, appendix quarter horse. Appendix means it's a little bit of thoroughbred and a little bit of a quarter horse breed. So he's about 8, I want to say. I think he's around 8 years old. He was born literally when he dropped the ground. I was there and got to what's called imprint him. So we petted him for the first time that he hit the ground before even his mother was able to touch him. We were right there helping him along. So he's my buddy. He's going to be on a lot of our adventures. And his mother, we can get over here, her name is Lena, and she's probably 12 now, I want to say, somewhere around there, so she's a little bit older. Good another appendix bred, quarter horse, a little bit of thoroughbred in there, but she's a really nice horse. This is called a bay. Anytime they have a black mane and tail, it's called a bay. So these are just straight, nothing fancy, showy, flashy about these horses, but they're very strong in the mountains, and that's what I do, and they're very safe and very personable. So, okay, don my hat now. The only reason I didn't do it before because I wanted to see, don't wear it all the time, but I will love wearing my hat when I'm out riding and so forth. So, straw is good when there's heat. We'll go over the gear a little bit. I'll saddle up Fargo, and then what we're going to do is just actually, literally, there's one of our little horses right there. We'll go out for a ride, take a little video, and that'll be the first video, okay? So I'll take you through some of the gear. Today is all about practicing. I really advocate that you need to practice with your horses. You need to be ready yourself in all sorts of circumstances. And then we're wanting to do some trips back in when we go overnight. We want to be comfortable and safe. So we bought some new gear and want to kind of try it out in saddlebags and see what's going to work here, okay? So first thing I want to do is you always put a pad on the horses when you're working with them, or with the saddle, right? So the pads that I choose are thinner, okay? But this is a wool pad. This is an older pad, but it's still in fairly good shape. It's got some leather wear pads here, so when the saddle straps come across it, it doesn't wear out your pad. It actually wears on the leather. So this pad is probably in the 50s or something, but it's wool. Wool will breathe better. It's more comfortable against their skin, and I have less option of actually getting saddle sores. So I use the wool. Now this is thinner. I use a little bit thicker with it. This is just what they call the standard saddle pad. Okay. Back in the early 1990s, about 88 or so, in 1990, I bought this. Okay. I worked at a place called Hap Tallman's. You'll hear me reference there because they're a great place to buy gear and so forth. But I actually took it in and I put and sewed on these leather patches because I wanted it not to wear out. So I've had this since the early 90s, and I bought this right about the same time, okay, and it was used when I got it, obviously. So a couple things that you do when you're saddling. Always make sure your horse knows where you're at. Okay. I never like to spook them. If they only see from the sides. They don't see quite in the front here. So this is a blind spot. So if you're walking up to them, you want to be talking. And if you're going to be putting anything on them, I usually show them what I'm doing first, just so they have an idea what's going on. I throw my pads up further. This is called the wither area. Up in here is called the withers, right in here. Okay. I throw my pads a little further up, past where they need to be, and I pull them down. The reason I do that is because the hair is here. If I put the pad and it moves forward, it'll make a spot that causes a rubbing area because the hair is roughed up. So I'm going to smooth that hair down before I get going. Less options of actually causing a sore. Always check for burrs, dirt, anything like that before you throw it on, because that'll cause sores too. Notice I double pad. I just do that as a preference. I have nothing against thicker pads. I feel I just don't like to use them because I don't feel like compress, and they want the saddle to form to the horse's back. You want that saddle to actually be fit. There's different trees and all sorts of different trees, lots of different styles, but the reason they're different is because we have different shaped horses. Okay, this saddle fits this horse really good, but I want to make sure that saddle fits good. And if I have a thicker pad, the saddle can't fit to the back of the horse, therefore it'll roll back and forth, it doesn't sit right. So I always use a thinner pad, something that will give them that protection that I'm looking for, comfort, but something that will actually conform to the back. My saddle was given to me from my mother-in-law, and it was a very, very heartful gift, and it was my birthday, and this was after my father-in-law had passed away, Rod Starks. He passed away, and this is his old Hamley. Hamley is a maker that's been around for hundreds of years now. Out of Pendleton, Oregon, they're still actually making saddles today. They make a very solid saddle, and it's an honor to be able to use this. You will notice I use my legs when I lift because this is really heavy, so the disadvantage is it's heavier saddle. Years ago they wanted a heavier solid rawhide tree because they rope a lot and they do a lot of different things that were really strenuous on the saddle. I don't do that. But I love the saddle, I love the seat, I love everything about it. So, notice I had it on the horn, I didn't lay it flat because it stretches it out. So, there again, I always make sure the horse knows I'm coming. Okay? You want to swing the stirrups, you want to swing as high as you can. You don't want to try to hit your horse with your gear. And notice what I did there. These little things I'll do, I'll try to explain. I lifted that pad up as I lifted the saddle in there. What I'm doing is I'm causing a channel, and as air comes in, it's going to cool the back of that horse. Alright? If my pad is flat, then I don't get an airflow underneath, which is hotter for the horse. It causes more discomfort, and also can lead to soreness with that animal. So I always like to leave a little air pad underneath there. Alright? If I come over here, I always tie up my gear on the opposite side. Nothing drags on the ground. Anybody that knows me will tell you that it's very adamant that nothing touches the ground. And the reason I do that is because I want to lessen the option of dirt and debris getting in the cinch and so forth. And I'll explain what the cinch is here. So if you notice, when I threw it, it got hooked a little bit. So I'm going to pull everything down. Alright? So if you look, I took my saddle strings, okay, and I tied everything up. I'll kind of just explain the parts of the saddle real quick, so everybody has an idea, because if I go through and explain it, if I'm out in the trail and I say the cinch got a fray or whatever, you'll know what I'm referencing to. So a quick reference on horse part and saddle parts. You got your saddle, you got your cinch, you got your back cinch. Not all saddles have a back cinch. All saddles that are going to be on top of a horse will have a cinch. Alright? Comes in lots of different ways. Mine, this is mohair. It's actually hair from an animal. I want to say it's cow hair, but I can't remember. But it's a hair. All right. So they take the hair and they actually create and braid it, and it breathes really nice. You'll see how I put my hand in there. When you're looking for a cinch, this is a double cinch. If it's single cinch, you'll only have one here, one of these rows. This has got double. What that does is less likelihood of it rolling. All right. A cinch will cause sores if it rolls. Single cinches are kind of a waste of time. Right? Double cinch, lots of different cinches. We can get into another segment on that. but the cinch is here, the back cinch is there. So you want to make sure where it's set on the saddle is really, or the saddle sits on the horse is very important. So you want your position to be right about the middle of the horse. You want the swells here to be right in the middle, this general area. So this tells me I need to probably pull it forward a little bit. I'm going to pull it forward and I'm going to rock it back. There again, I'm sliding everything back. I'm going to pull it up a little bit more, let that airflow in there. My cinch, get this stirrup out of the way. My cinch is here. Okay, it's going to fall right in this area. Alright, right through this area is where you want your cinch. Not too far forward, not too far back, right about in here. And so it falls just right in there. Alright? So I make sure that's clear. I make sure there's nothing there real quick. I rub my hand on it, or I need to clean off my cinch. And then what I'll do is I start to swing. So I just grab my cinch and let it swing a little. Come back to the other side of the horse. Now, one of the things on this other side that I'm pretty adamant about too is, remember I said everything needs to be up out of the way. You don't trip on it, you're not dragging it through the mud and dirt. Alright? This is my latigo. My latigo is made of a softer leather. I like leather latigos, I think they hold better. But you notice it's up. Now if you notice, I lost my swing, but when it's swinging, okay, I can grab it easier. It comes from packing. We'll have a segment on packing. So I'm going to bring it up, I'm going to position it, and the way I put mine up, you're able to take the tail of the latigo and I can pull it through. Alright? Some people just, when they have it dragging here, and they're going along, and they're trying to do this, and they're trying to pull it through, and they're pulling it like this, and to me, I want it up, I want to be able to pull it and it's good. So how I put it up is I just hold it like that, have it there, there again, I come, I swing, I pull it down, boom, I got it. Now, you go through your saddle and you tie onto your, I remember that part of the saddle, but you will go through when you're saddling up, you'll notice how I am actually taking, and I'm putting my hand in here. What I'm doing is, I pull tight, okay, but I'm taking that skin, the skin will actually roll in here. If you got a roll in there, you have the option of actually rubbing that horse and causing a sore, and then you're not riding for a while, okay? So what you want to do is you pull that forward, it straightens that skin out. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do this. What I like to do when I tie off my latigo is I make a little loop. So I come down this way and go backwards. Dad used to do that. Go this way, come up underneath. I've got a loop here, okay? So I'm going to drop that loop in there. That's one way to tie it. That secures the saddle to the horse. Now, another way to do it, Leo Jarvis years and years ago, back in '87 I want to say, taught me how to do another one. If I can remember it now. Yeah, right there. He taught me to go back up like this, okay, and then bring it around and pull it down. Okay, now the reason he taught me how to do that, because he used to ride a lot of horses that were bucking. If he needed to if it hit the ground and something bad happened, he could pull real quick and everything's out. Okay, so that's one way to do it. The other way isn't that fast, trust me. So, but when you need to get your saddle off your horse in a big old hurry, come back up. Okay, you do this, comes back down like this, and you pull that straight down and tighten it. Alright, and you're going to have it nice and tight in there. Now, like I said, the trick is, okay, when you do that, you want to make sure that you tighten this first. Alright, it's a little harder to tighten it. So I'm going to get it pretty close to where it needs to be. Doesn't need to be super tight. I'll do it one more time. And I don't always do it this way, but I wanted to share it because Leo, you know, he's no longer with us. He was, I want to say in his 80s back then, and he was riding every day and riding bucking animals down mountain trails, and he was he's a cool guy, okay? So, see, pop that in like that, come down. Here's my back cinch. Always make sure you put your back cinch on. Here's the trick on the back cinch. I think Fargo needs to ride a little bit more. He's a little big bellied there, alright? So, you see, and the reason I say that is because he's a little tight. I can tell where he normally has his back cinch, the back billet. is usually locked right into here because it's marked. So it tells me he's a little been out to pasture a little bit. But what you want to do is you make sure it's not tight. See, I'm putting my hand in there. About one hand, that's perfect. If it's any tighter and you get it really tight and you notice there's a piece down here, this piece is going to connect those two cinches. Cinch connector. Really complicated, huh? But if that's missing, if this travels back here to the flanks, that's how we get them to buck in a rodeo. Go figure. So what they do is they take the back cinch, they go up here and they tighten that up, and that's what you see those guys riding over and they unhook it, okay, and get that horse to stop bucking. So make sure your cinch connector is working, because if this travels back here, you may have a rodeo on your hands. All right. So now the last thing I do, because I ride in the mountains most of the time. Today we'll be just riding around the place here, but is my my breast collar. So my breast collar, if we can get a picture of it here, is a nice piece of rolled leather. I bought this in about 91, maybe 92, somewhere in there. I had it custom made from Smith & Edwards down in Utah. Okay. The reason I'm bringing that up is this nice piece of leather. It goes around that front of that chest, and it doesn't choke them out. It doesn't rub on them. It's been a great piece of leather for me. I need to clean it up. But if you notice in here, probably right here, if I can get a picture of it, a little quick story. Right through here, it's kind of chewed up. I was out on an overnight camping trip in Central Oregon, and I just went out by myself, me and a couple mules, and took off. And that kept me up at night. And the reason it is because I took my saddle at night and I laid my head in my saddle, just like they did in the Western shows, you know. So I was laying there and I could hear something chewing up by my head. And I didn't know, you know, and I was swinging at it and everything else and roll over and go back to bed. Yes, anybody that knows me. Most people probably would have freaked out at something chewing at their head, but whatever. So in the morning I woke up, went to saddle up, and it rained that night and everything, and went to saddle up, and a mouse had chewed my breast collar. That is a mouse, and it was chewing the salt on my breast collar. So it was right by my head, and the whole night chewing on my head, chewing on my breast collar. So kind of a fun little story that makes fun little memory. So breast collars, when you put those on, this is a strap that holds it upright, obviously. Okay, so not all of them have it, but I like that because it's freestanding. Bring it back. Every saddle's different. This one, this goes right around up in here. Some have hooks, so on and so forth. Whatever, doesn't matter as long as it's solid. Bring it back down. Now, that fits just right. Okay. When everybody is just standing here, this should just be fairly loose. There again, I need it to shift. It's going to shift back and forth. It stabilizes that saddle right where we put it in that position as best as we possibly can. It's called a crouper. Croupers come off the back, come down, they go around the tail, and they stabilize on the tail in a very steep country. I don't run one of those with him. I don't necessarily need to, because it fits pretty good. And I do go on some trails that are pretty gnarly. Okay, so let's go over here. Saddlebags. There's many different styles of saddlebags. I got these years ago from Colorado Saddlery. I worked down in Colorado for a while. Royal Gorge Riding Stable. I like the depth on them. They're simple. They're well made. They've been with me since 1989, the year I graduated high school. Okay, so these guys have worn real well, and I've used them quite a bit. So the reason I chose these today, I've got several saddlebags, is that I want to try out some new gear we got. The idea and the focus and the goal is to be compact and to be able to ride back into that backcountry and be comfortable and safe when we do. So the wife, Lori, found this gentleman that was selling, he's from Climate, and they make backpacking equipment. Look them up, really cool stuff because it's super compact. This is actually my sleeping bag, okay? This is my sleeping pad that I just tied onto here so I wouldn't lose it. All right, but that literally is that's an air pad. Okay, it's an air pad, and that air pad usually pads are big. The reason I bring this up, that whole thing is my mattress. that it actually takes about 8 breaths. I can blow it up, sleep on air all night long in the backcountry. Very, very cool. I tried it the other day. They talk about putting it inside your sleeping bag. That's one option. It wasn't the best option for me, but I like mine on the outside, but I can see why they did it. Lori likes hers on the inside, so I welcome you to try it. Yeah, like I said, it's Climax. Great company so far. I really like their products. This is a down one. I got the down sleeping bag, compact. And the reason I bring this up, hey bub, see I saw his feet and I spoke because I didn't want to startle him, okay? So it's very important. I know these horses, and you'll see me standing here, and I know where they're at, and I know that if I need to move, I can, okay? So there's some gear in here that I have. I've got some 22 shells because I carry 22. There's some, toilet paper, things like that. These are just stuff I have in my pads or in my packs. There's a poncho, hot pack. You can put your hot pack in your boots, or if you need to, recovery of big game. Honestly, I took this and I keep this around. 2 reasons. If you're back in there and you get lost, or you get a place where you're unsure, you know where you're at, but you're not sure where the truck is at. Is how we always say that, okay? You need something to read. You need something to keep your mind off of it. So these little booklets are fun to have along, because you can reference if you do get a animal down, but you always have something to read too. Okay. A little piece of extra leather. I put that in there in case I break something. I can fix it on the trail. I got a bunch of other stuff in here too. Electric tape. Why do I have electric tape in there? Not that these are electrical, but if I get something hurt, okay, I can actually wrap electric tape. Duct tape would work too, on wounds and so forth. That's why I have that in there. Some more fire starting material that fell out of the tag. Okay, so that's what I have in there. When you're packing in saddlebags, one of the things you want to make sure of is that weight. It's even on both sides. So I have not got to try these out yet. So I'm going to see how these fit in the packs. Okay, so I'm going to actually put them in there and see, hopefully they fit just like we planned it out. I just put a sleeping bag in the side of the pad. This is about, I don't even know, I should weigh this. I don't know, I think it's about 2 pounds, something like that. About 3 pounds. So pretty lightweight. Now, I got 3 pounds here. I'm going to take this, maybe a pound, I'm going to put it right next to it. And the reason I just did that is because I should have weight on this side. Same amount of weight on this side. This side feels heavier to me. Okay, so what I'm going to do, take this little feller, bring it back around, and drop it on that side. Alright, so boom, they're about even. And the reason that's important is as we come over here, hey buddy, hey. Okay, when I put these saddlebags on, alright, if one side is heavier than the other, they go like this as you're going down the trail. Alright, you have to have your packs even, as close as possible. Alright, probably within a pound. That's going to make a big difference. So my saddle strings. This is a Western style saddle. Oops, sorry buddy. It's got a horn. It's got the cantle back here. Here's your seat, okay? This is Western style. English, there's Australian, there's many different types. They're lighter weight, different. I like the Western because I have strings. I like to have a horn because I can put a rope around that and pull something out if I need to. So that's my preference. So I go back here. I'm just going to tie these on real quick, and then I'll bridle them up, and then we'll be good for, and then we'll get on the trail here. So you put it through. I put these holes in here, so you run your saddle strings through. You want to double knot it. Well, you can single knot it if you're going to put something else on top. I usually run my, my slicker, which is like a long jacket for rain, slicker jacket, whatever case up here behind it. You want to try to make sure, if you can, there are straps here. These help out a lot in keeping it from flipping up. Alright, so if they're there and you got a strap down there, do so. I just tie them here because this is all I have option wise on my saddle, so it doesn't make it perfect. These, obviously, the more that you have everything buckled up, the better off you are, because if they do start jumping around, stuff comes flying out pretty quick. So I'll get this one saddled up here, tied up. Now the only other thing is, like I said, weight is a big must. You got to make sure you have as close of the weight as possible. One of the things I just realized that it's going to be because this is we're learning together here, is I put that sleeping bag on this side. Not on purpose, it just happened to happen that way. But I would recommend that you do put anything that's going to be bulkier on the opposite side. The reason is, traditionally, we always get saddled from this side, okay? Which would be the left-hand side of the horse if you're riding, okay? We get up this way. We swing over, all right? If there's a big bulky thing here or something tall here, it's a lot harder to swing, especially when you got a big tall horse like I do, all right? So the reason I say that is because this is pretty bulky over here. So it tells me as I'm going to put my sleeping bag on the other side. I'm going to keep it right over here so that I don't have to worry about it too much when I'm trying to get on the horse, okay? So that worked out pretty slick. Now, the last thing we need to do, we need to bridle. Your bridle is just nothing more than a connection between you and the horse. They don't speak English, they don't speak any other language, they speak horse. And I don't know the horse language per se, but I do know how to communicate with the horse. And one of the ways we do that traditionally is with the bridle. Some people, when they're really, really good, don't need the bit. They actually have neck straps that go across here, and they'll actually have that connection through that, right through the neck. I've found it better just to have, keep with tradition. I use it's called a snaffle bit, okay, which means it's just broken in the middle. It just separates here. That's all snaffle bit means. Okay, I keep them in a snaffle pretty much all the time. I don't need a straight bit for me because I don't need them to stop on a dime and give me 10 cents change. I find that these work really good because I've got two different positions. I've got a position down here that pivots. Okay, so everything pivots right around here and it swings a little bit. I can take this and I can put it up here if I want a direct pull on the corner of their mouth. So it's all about how to connect with that horse. So this is a traditional Western bridle. It's kind of a little fancy, but it's not too bad. And then reins, I run a rope and rein. Roping and rein means it's one continuous connection, is what that means. It's not two pieces. A split rein means two pieces. A rope and rein is connected. And the reason that it got named roping rein is because when you rope, you drop your reins, obviously you jump off to dally up your calf. Well, you don't want your reins dragging on the ground, so they have one continuous connection and it sits on their back. I like that too, because if I need to get off, I can do that. So, flies are bad, we've sprayed them down, but this is, August, so flies are pretty bad around here. So, notice what I just did, I untied them. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure that if they do get nervous, and I should have probably done it when I saddled them too, is you loosen them up, okay? If they're tied hard and fast, and they pull back, you're a lot harder to get them unloose. So generally, not only, but a lot of times when you're saddling or when you're bridling, they sometimes can be a little bit goofy, okay? So I get them away from, I make sure they're free, if you will, okay? He's a good horse. I don't have to worry about it too much. I throw the lead rope, halter, lead rope, all right? I throw that over. One of the key things that I always do, I take my reins and they're first and foremost on top of their neck. You just notice how he's already trying to put it in his mouth. He's done this a couple of times, okay? I take my hand, these two fingers, that pinky, two fingers, pinky. If you're missing them, sorry, but try something different. But I take my two fingers there, my pinky holds my curb strap, okay? Curb strap, I take my fingers, put it in there, gently allow him to put it in his mouth. And same goes when you're taking it off. Ears go through, notice how he bobbed his head. They don't really appreciate that too much. Not too bad, make sure it's adjusted right. Now, throat latch. This part here, this is the bridle, this is the throat latch. Throat latch here, come up here. You want it, there again, check in how much pressure, what's my tension, how tight is everything. So I tighten that up. This has got a double keeper. Keep that up. That's about where I want it. These go here. I'm ready to ride. Okay, so we'll cut it for a bit and we'll get on the trail. Thank you.